Seventh exercise of the Baduan chin set, clenching the fist and sparkling with the eyes, beginner's level first. This exercise works on the wood element and the liver, a little bit the gallbladder, mainly liver aspect of the wood element in the human physical body. Let's take a look at the exercise first, and then let's talk about it. It's once again an exercise where we have to step aside, So much for that. Now, what do we do? The step to the side is similar than the ones we had before. When stepping to the side, I first sink down in my standing leg. First step again is to the left. Step to the left starts by turning my body to the right hip, bending in the right hip and in the right knee, and that goes with this, at the same time with bringing my arms forward in order to balance my weight, so that nothing like that happens. Once again, what I want to do is I want to take an unweighted step, an empty step to the left at first. So right here I could still decide to come back without having to push myself off the left ball of the foot. So once again, an empty step to the left side to start with. Both arms fan out like so, meaning the elbows leave the body and the back of my hands comes to the side. Then the arms curl back in again, simply by letting the elbows drop to the body. This motion of letting the elbows drop to the body naturally turns the palms a little bit back up again. That's nothing that you have to force. It's something that happens completely out of your body anatomy, more or less depending on how much tension you have in your muscles and how exactly your joints are formed. But it will happen. So, first action, fanning out to the side, coming in. It's more like a gathering move. So the longer part of this movement is the arms coming back to my body. Fanning out is just a very short movement, short in time, and also it's not that big. That's just a very tiny movement. And then I come back in as if I wanted to collect something, as if I wanted to draw some water around me or draw some energy towards me. So once again, fan out and come into the body. Right here, I have light fists on both sides. The motion doesn't end here. I turn my body a little further and my left arm starts to rise until it reaches about shoulder height. From that moment on, that's also the change from inhalation to exhalation. I'll come to that later. From that moment on, I start turning my body back to the front and expand my left arm out of my body. This expansion is nothing that happens just out of the arm. It happens center first, meaning turning the body actually pushes the shoulder forward and thus thrusts the arm to the end. In this process, again, completely natural, the fist will turn facing palm down. And at the end, the fist will be flat, parallel to the ground. Once again, I show you. Come to the side, fanning out of the elbows. Gathering movement back into the body. That's the part here, where I form my fists. I turn my body a little further to the left. My left arm rises. And then I let my body sink between my legs. The right arm stays down here, side of my body. The left arm punches to the left side. Now comes the only part in the Baduan Chin exercise where we consciously use tension in the whole body at once. Because once we reached this position, that's the point when we start to tense up all the muscles at once. Your calves, your thighs, your hips, your buttocks, your belly, your spinal column, everything, all the muscles in your body tense up for a short period of time. It's not a and stay in there. It's just you come in, out, tense, and release, and come back in. The most important thing about that is what the body structure is actually doing. The body structure has to be perfectly aligned in order for you to be able to tense all the muscles in the body without doing yourself any harm. What does this mean? I show you from the side, I come out. Come in, turn my body further, and now I turn back to the front. Now realize that my spine is completely straight. I sit in my hip joints. There is no leaning backwards, leaning forwards. There is no tilting my pelvis in either direction. There is no pulling the head back or forth. The head is turned to the side where my fist is. And in this position, with a perfectly straight position, now I tense up. And then I come back to the middle. So this is very important here, because as soon as you tense up muscles on both sides of a joint, the pressure in the joints will rise. Rising pressure in a joint is not a problem as long as the joint is perfectly aligned. If that's not the case, you put a lot of pressure either on the tendons or the sinews or your cartilages, or on the muscles that try to balance the movement because they realize, oh, it's structurally imperfect, so I have to counteract it. So in order for this movement to be perfect and to do what it's supposed to do, you have to make sure you're perfectly aligned. Let that sacrum of yours sink down so that your spine is nice and straight and your body is centered and relaxed as much as possible. Even though we're in that wide open position, slightly bent knees here, you can open your quad, you can use this dome-like area here to sit in completely comfortable, thus using a lot less tension in your thighs than would normally be necessary if you don't have the correct position. So once again, from that moment on, when I turn back to the front, find your sweet spot. Find the point where you have a natural stop in your structure when from this slight turn you just release the muscles that did the turn. If you release the muscles now, it'll just naturally drop into a position where your knees are still perfectly aligned with your toes, where your hip joints and your pelvis are loose, and where the structure is exactly as it's supposed to be. Second part of the movement, obviously, is coming back to the middle. All the muscles release at once, at different speeds, doesn't matter. All the muscles release at once. And that's how you come back to the middle. Now, coming back to the middle, as this movement is a combined one again, where you do one left and one right side with one step to the side, similar to the fifth exercise. So now you have to do this gathering movement shortly after the release. So in this time, the release aspect is actually extremely short before you start doing something again. Let me show you. Come to the side. And now I raise my right arm, body turns to the right. I sink back to the middle, right arm expands. My body is in perfect alignment and perfect shape. Now I have the contraction, come back to the middle, push myself to the center and stand up before I start doing the opposite side. Rather simple if you get the basic idea right. The basic idea is turn, align, tense, release, gather, turn, align, tense, release. Let's try this again. I tell you the breathing right now. So we start with an exhalation. Now, inhalation. That's all still inhalation. Inhalation until the left arm reaches shoulder height. The exhalation starts with centering yourself back, and the exhalation goes until the point of maximum tension. The beginning of the release is the beginning of the inhalation, where you release all the muscles of your exhaled, of your forced exhalation in this case, because you were actually tensing the muscles. So it's using pressure, also using pressure to get the air out. That's the inhalation again. Inhalation, 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 and exhalation. And inhalation, inhalation, and exhalation. Back to the middle. And then we start with the inhalation to the right side out. Now, the important thing here is when you come to the side, make sure that also your head is in the perfect position. And here you can think about implementing what it's called, what the name of the exercise is. It's called clenching the fist and sparkling with the eyes. It's not necessarily the best way to do the exercise for all purposes, but it's one option. So if you want this exercise to push you up, to generate not only heat in the body by using your muscles actively, but you also want this exercise to push this energy to the outside. You really want to get going and want to push yourself up. Then, right at the end, the same time when you start to tense your muscles, open your eyes as much as possible and really stare out as if your eyes were almost jumping out of your eye sockets. And yeah, it's really like opening your eyes, big eyes, and sparkling with the eyes. But that's just in the moment of tension at the end. And then with the release, also relax your eyes again. If you don't want such an extreme powering up aspect, but just a gentle, okay, I want to do something positive for my liver as well and want to just energize my system in a calm manner, then don't do that with the eyes. Then just go to the side, do nothing special with your eyes, tense up, come to the middle and back to the center. All right, now let's do this whole thing on the other side as well. I showed you first side again. We have an exhalation here, inhalation, elbows fan out. All inhalation, 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 inhalation. Turning the body back to the front, exhalation, tense, release. Inhale, gathering movement. Inhale, inhale, inhale. Exhale, tense, release. Inhale, exhale to the middle. Inhale. Inhale, inhale. And once again, it's a yang exercise. So once again, we start to the left. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Tense. Release. Inhale. And exhale. Come back to the middle and then stand up. As in the exercises before, first bring your foot towards your body and then stand up. So when you are at the side, don't go push yourself back and stand right up. Go back in, you're still with a bent left knee here, and then push yourself up as soon as the right foot reached its position next to the left. One more word for the gathering movement after the first tensing aspect. Do it to the right now. So we've just come, whoop, palm, back to the center. Stand up as soon as the left foot is here. Gathering movement now to the left, into the body. Turning back to the left, lifting the left arm, pushing out. Exhale, in. Now this inhalation, the fists open up for a short period of time. Once again have this gathering aspect. The fists close again as soon as I move my arms back towards my body. And then I come up, out again, in. Now I just let my arms drop down naturally and come back up. And you might have realized there is one more hip movement in between. Also, it's something that almost doesn't need mentioning because it comes naturally. I show you it's the same on both sides. So I come to the side, come in, inhalation, inhalation, exhalation, release. My hips turn to the right here. That comes natural because my left hand is stretched out further than my right. So the left arm gives the body a momentum to the right side, which is why after the release, my body turns to the right side. Then I turn it back to the front for this gathering movement and turn it actively back to the right for the end of the inhalation before I push my arm out. Then once again, I release the right side, I turn a little bit more to the left, and then I come back to the center. And the same goes for the right side. I show you, so from here, fan out, come in, up, push out, release. Hip turn slightly to the right, back to the middle, and up, and then out. And then the release, and this release again, whoop, will bring you back here, foot towards the left foot, and then come back up. The thing is, there is 2 hip turns that come naturally and one that you have actually that you actually have to do. The one that you have to do is this one. That's an active turn of the hip. Sinking back to the middle is passive. Relaxing is another passive one. And then coming to the right side, turning the body again, that's the active one again. Passive, you just sink yourself back. Once again, passive, coming back. Come in, let the arms drop down. Come in, that's the active one. That's the passive one. That's the second passive one. That's again, the turning to the right is an active one. And that's the passive one, another passive one, and then come back to the middle and stand back up. That's the 7th exercise. Generates a lot of heat in the body, really gets this energy going, works on the liver, on the gallbladder, on the wood element, which is connected to tension, which is connected to agility, which is connected to creativity, all those aspects of the wood element. It's also connected to the shoulder joints, which is why it's very important to move the body correctly, not to stretch the arm out, but to actually let the arm float out after the body turns naturally.